town there was a group of older safety professionals that I've worked with for years, and they came up with an idea of selling safety. They said, okay, here's the things that you should do safety-wise. If you decide not to do this stuff, by the way, then you need to have this program. This program is in case of fatality, how you're going to handle the situation. How are you going to handle the press? How are you going to handle the spouse? How are you going to handle the family and all that other kind of stuff? These are the things you need to have explanations for. Okay? Different way of looking at it. Okay? We know what happens when we ignore these dangers, right? All we have to think back is to the golden age when we were talking about the Titanic. What was the main thing that they said with the Titanic? Unsinkable, because we were now the masters of our universe. And we, of course, could never, now we've built things, we can control whatever it is that we have to deal with. And we know that's not true. Whatever we build mechanically can fail. The same thing can happen with our programs, our thought processes, and things like that. We know that if we ignore certain dangers, that we have a chance of failing. Okay? So one of the things to do to kind of bring this up to you guys so that you kind of see the point to this, but it's a way of looking at that direct cost of an injury. So let's say a direct cost, you know, the property damage, the raise in workers' comp, what we paid out in indemnity, and those kind of things comes to $1,500, okay? Now, we're going to put a cost multiplier because we can't measure necessarily all the indirect costs that are involved, so we just come up with a number. So what we're going to let me just show you the scale here, because one of the things to keep in mind, and one of the things I wanted to bring up with this is that, you know, this is kind of the frustration I've heard from people that have made this comment to me, but they said, you know, I'm trying to get the supervisor, I'm trying to get my boss involved, I'm trying to get management involved in the process, and I can't do it. You know, they're not listening to me. There's a lot of problems here, and we really need to address things safety-wise. And so I've kind of felt like what they're trying to tell me is this is mission impossible, right? From an employee standpoint, how do you get management to want to spend money in for safety-wise? And this is really kind of a challenge. So one of the things that I did in this presentation was I brought a couple different things in. There was another article that I found, but there was also a thing that OSHA used to have years ago called safety pays, and in which they kind of brought in that how do you get the return on your dollar? Okay, so one of the things I wanted to approach this was, well, let's take on Mission Impossible, if you will, right now. And I'm going to date myself again. So when I think of Mission Impossible, I think back to the 60s and the 70s, right? And I'm thinking Peter Graves. And I know that the younger set, when they think of Mission Impossible, they're probably thinking more Tom Cruise, but it's still Mission Impossible. You know, you feel like, man, the odds of you being successful are against you, so therefore why even bother, right? Well, let's approach it from a couple different ways, okay? Number one, here's the deal. If I offered you guys, for every dollar that you guys invested with me, safety, I'd return to you guys $2 to $6. How much money do you think you'd start to put down, right? Everything that's in your pocket, maybe, let's see, on my budget, I have $120 extra this month. Maybe I can give that to you, or a couple hundred here or whatever. Yeah, I'd want to invest in that. Isn't that a good deal? How many investments can you think of that guarantee you at least double your input? Your investment, doubles your investment. Not very many, is there? Chances are, even playing the stock market these days, you're not going to even get that kind of return, right? So, yeah, that really sounds great, doesn't it? Until we start throwing in some conditions here. Now, here's where the sting comes in, or this is where management comes from, because they feel like this is the rub. Okay, so now what we're talking about is the return on those possible savings. Where do they come in at? It's not like you get a check from safety that says, by the way, all the money here from the safety center, there you go, right? Because it doesn't work like that, because safety is not looked at as it's a profit center, is it? How do they look at safety? Yeah, it's a whole. Yeah, here you go. You want me to buy hard hats for how many people? Or let's put it in the Montana State funds. How many sit stands do we need to buy for everyone? Again, look at the investment you're asking me to make, and you're asking me to do it pretty substantial early on. I need to put out big bucks to pay for this. We had our WorkSafe Champions graduation yesterday, and one of the guys talked about, he said, yeah, we put $70,000 into a particular, we invested that over the last couple of years. Wow, that's a pretty large investment. Now, you're going to get your money back out of that, but the problem is it may not come for another couple of years, because we all know what happens, right? If you're talking workers' comp, it's like a speeding ticket. It stays on your record for 3 years. So the thing is that even if you get it, once you get it off your record, that's when you're going to see the improvement. But if you keep having something happen and it stays on your record, you're never going to see the savings. So the idea is, if you invest now and you work on those safety issues now, you're going to see the advantage down the road, but you're not going to see it right this minute. You're not going to see it next quarter when you come in. You're going to be waiting probably about 3 years down the road before you'll see the advantage of doing that. But if you don't start now, every time you come in here, you're still going to be 3 years away from that target, unless you start addressing it now, okay? So this is where really the rub comes in, and why management feels like it's such a sting on them, is that you're asking them to invest, and all they see is a cost center. They don't see the profit center in safety at all, because the return doesn't come back to them from safety. It comes back from the same thing that we were just talking about: profitability, productivity, and customer satisfaction. Those are the areas it comes back in, and it doesn't come back with the label, this is what safety did for you, okay? So that's kind of a tough deal. Now, here's the thing though. The experts agree that the savings are there. If you're investing in safety and you're taking care of your people and things, eventually those savings will come back to you. But it's a constant effort. It's nothing that you can do for a year, nothing you can do for 2 years. This is a constant effort on your part to continue to make things safe, okay?